My name is Dr. Violet Makuku of the Association of African Universities. I'm a quality assurance expert or specialist here at the AAU. I'm also a workshops coordinator and the project manager for the harmonization of African higher education, quality assurance and accreditation here at the Association of African Universities. But we are a consortium of 4 partners being led by O'Brien. For me, I've got a strong background in education, curriculum, and assurance in higher education. I hold a diploma in teacher education and honors degree in geography in curriculum study, quality assurance in university education. I've been a lecturer for some 11, 12 years at the Bindura University of Science Education, where I started as a teaching assistant and rose through the ranks until I also became director of quality assurance, the first one for that university. I've also done a lot of research, a lot of TV programs, of special guest of honor, keynote speaker, and all the like. So looking forward that one day I'll be one of your guest of honor and keynote speaker, if you see it fit in future. And so what we are having now is the rollout of our program. I just want to check if there's anybody from the African Union Commission. Hello, do we have anybody from the African Union Commission? Okay, so if not, they may join us later because the commissioner herself was committed to attend the event, but sometimes, you know, these are issues of technology, and anytime they come on board, we will just give them the platform to say something. So I just want to share my screen with everyone. Can we all see?
Yes, we can. Or I can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this is our webinar, and I'm hopeful that we are not lost confirmation of the flyer that we used to advertise for the program. And here we are also in our quest to follow quality assurance in the digitized new normal. We all need to rally behind the quality assurance agenda in the new normal and start to make sure that our institutions are readily prepared for this move. I will start talking about the Association of African Universities. Then we will look at the background to AAU's response. We would want to define some key terms. It's interesting that this COVID-19 brought about many new terms that are going to be added into the dictionaries. COVID-19, the new normal, and all these others. And I think some people will even name their children by some of these things, the coronavirus, something. But we need to really look at the definition of terms, importance of quality assurance in the new normal digitized higher education space. That's the reason why we are here. Existing support resources, skills required to survive in the new normal digitized higher education terrain, practical steps, AAUs available, support, and then we normally do with the question and answer session right at the end. Why do we do this? Because as somebody may be presenting, you will realize that you raise a question, but along the way, the question is responded to, and there will be no need anymore to address that question. So that's how we say we end up addressing the questions right at the end. And so that's me, the webinar coordinator, and my contact details. You need to have them. If we go about like a day or two, let's say 2 days, before you receive the link to the recorded webinar, then you should start worrying and now start communicating a link. So may you please send it to me? Because what I've realized, no matter how we emphasize that people should enter correct email addresses, it doesn't happen. We always find some issues. So I'm going to talk about the AAU. Some people think the AAU is just like 2 years old, 1 year old, but truly speaking, we are more than 50 years old, being in 67 with a membership of more than 400 in East, Central, Southern, and North, and Western Africa in the all geography, English, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. We have our regional offices in East Africa, the based in Khartoum, University of Khartoum. We also have our North African region based in Al-Azhar University. And we have our North American office based in Washington, DC. And we have this in order to cater for the people who are in the diaspora, who are Africans and may want to make a contribution to the development of higher education in the continent. We have a mandate from the African Union Commission. You heard me asking about the commissioner. Yes, we are the implementing arm of the African Union Commission on matters to do with higher education. And we are the coordinator of the Continental Education Strategy for Africa here at the Association of African Universities, but it is a brainchild of the African Union Commission. This shows you how much we work hand in glove with the African Union Commission, thereby forwarding our 54 countries' higher education interests towards the contribution to the 17 SDGs and also to the development of our individual countries and our nations. We have a large platform of African vice chancellors, rectors, and the whole of the African higher education university and tertiary education community. Our vision is to be the leading advocate for higher education in Africa with the capacity to provide support for its member institutions in meeting national, continental, and global goals. We want to enhance the quality and relevance of higher education in Africa and also to strengthen its contribution to Africa's development through fostering collaboration among members, providing support to their core functions of teaching, learning, research, and community engagement, facilitating critical reflection on and consensus building around issues affecting higher education and the development of Africa. We have the focus areas which are favorable policy environment and higher education prioritized at national, regional, and continental levels, even at institutional level, because you know the institution is like a cell in biology or an atom in physics before we then go to the national, regional, and continental levels. We do a lot of institutional capacity of our member institutions to strengthen their delivery in different areas. the higher education African harmonization, like I told you, we also do a lot on that. Sustainable financing mechanism post, we would really need to resources to help us. During the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the AAU was highly responsive. Thanks to our management, thanks to the board, came rallying behind the Secretariat to support issues of advocacy. We sent out a lot of communication to support institutions, and the most and highly notable communication that was sent from the Association of African Universities campaign, leave the universities' doors open. Let the university doors be open. And I'm happy to report on behalf of the Association of African Universities that we saw our universities working in the labs and contributing towards the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, hand sanitizers, gloves, masks, and ventilators, something which we never saw before. It was a hive of activity in the universities, and thank you. And universities also just closed a bit and then came on board to start seeing how they can start the emergence remote teaching and learning. So we thank you for heeding to the Association of Universities call, because as the apex body of higher education in Africa, and also the viewer that we would act like the mother of the continent in terms of this matter. We carried out a lot of surveys on African universities, which helped us to map out the activities that we would roll out to support the universities and tertiary education and higher education in general. We have capacity building. Right now, we have programs that are running on, and in terms of supporting teaching and learning, we are going to start on the 6th with the quality assurance in higher education, and then we will move on to expand to finance in higher education, marketing, student enrollment, staff recruitment in the digital, new digital norm. Brokering partnerships a lot with Wale, with Deliver effectively. Also in terms of infrastructure, counselors, working with the responsible ministries in countries, and also working with the national research and education networks in order to push this agenda of having investments, huge investments at national level, regional and continental level on ICTs and internet services, because these are going to be the core. Without them, we can't talk of quality in higher education anymore, anywhere in the world. Generally, in terms of quality assurance, which is our focus today, we are going to support with quality assurance, mentoring and guiding resources, materials. We are going to make sure we work together to have those. The setting up of quality assurance units, we have always been doing it. The existing national quality assurance agencies and institutional quality assurance units within higher education institutions, quality assurance in online and upgrading of teaching and learning centers, quality assurance in teacher training programs, African education, all these we are going to work. I just want to emphasize Africa here, African higher education and the Pan-African quality assurance and accreditation framework PACWAF, which is now where we are doing the harmonization for African higher education, quality assurance and accreditation. We are in phase 2, and this one is a brainchild of the which is funded by the European Union Commission in their political partnership. But the implementers include the Global Observatory, who is our coordinator, Obriel, the Association of African Universities, DAAD, German Academic Exchange Services, and ENQA, which is a network of quality assurance agencies in Europe. And then our objectives are there. The general objective is to improve the quality of harmonization of African higher education and support. We do capacity building in quality assurance, teaching skills, research, library services, resource mobilization, internationalization. There are many. I'm the workshops coordinator, and anytime you can write to me and then we talk for your institution activities, because they are more fruitful. A certificate at the end, and better off when you are an AAU member. I think those who are already AAU members should remain very, very active. And those who are not, you are invited. You can go to our website. The form is there, and then you can write to tell us you have initiated the process, so that you also get the numerous benefits which I cannot enumerate here. So these are some of the previous capacity building. This is University for Development Studies in Tamale, Ghana. This is Botswana University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. All these were for this year. This is another one. And let's now jump into the background and the AAU's response, which I've already said. But let me say why this webinar. The reason why we are having this webinar is because of the observations that we have made as the Association of African Unity Assurance since the outbreak, and attended a lot of webinars. What I realized was that these webinars were mainly addressing issues of emergency remote teaching and learning, supporting the lecturers in particular. And maybe I missed the one which was to do with supporting the students. This is the reason why we just had one on Tuesday, where we were also having student representatives in that webinar so that they could share with us their experiences. But it's only the beginning. We will prompt you on the other webinars that are coming in order to continue supporting the African higher education community. The gap would deliberately throw or genuine, and sometimes nobody would respond to my quality assurance questions and leave out the questions which had to do with quality assurance. I got frustrated. I just want to acknowledge and say, it's not that the webinars were not touching some of the aspects, but it was not really illuminated so that people could have a deliberate effort to make people see that here we are now tackling the quality assurance dimension. But before I go any further, I also want to emphasize the importance of quality assurance in the new normal digitized higher education space. You know, we have a major challenge. For example, here in Africa, I've realized that for a long time, the campaign for open and distance learning, online learning has been there for more than 10 years, but it has not ended. We lost a lot of our relatives, but we also have some consoling positives which came out of the COVID-19. Now more than ever before, people are moving, they are being pushed by the situation to make sure that they continue to be connected in the universities and elsewhere in the world. And hence the need and something that we cannot escape, that we need an alternative to face-to-face activities that we normally carry out in our institutions. But the major issue is trust and confidence in this mode, which brings us to why we are having this webinar. We need to build trust and confidence in online and ODL programs, which was already lacking and caused a lot of resistance from key higher education stakeholders, including industry and employers in particular. Their reasons were lack of engagement is impractical, there are no lab-based activities, large and costly bandwidth, resistance from students and staff, technophobia, and the major examination and assessment processes and procedures. How credible are they? This is what we are all going to address in order to make people more comfortable and therefore accept this alternative. Not surprisingly, these issues resurfaced currently with uneven connectivity. The importance of higher education voices like Philip Altbach and Hans de Witt and John Daniel have rightly remarked that online learning is not, nor never should have been deemed unnecessary, but we need these things again to make sure that standards are closely met and surpassed, to ensure higher quality graduates who are comparable to those who graduate from traditional universities and can work in the new digital norm. Please, can I just check, are you seeing those writings? I don't know where they are emanating from, but I'm sorry about the mishap. Right. So let's quickly go on to our definition of terms. We have meeting standards. We want to define quality. Please allow me, for those who are conversant with quality and quality assurance matters, let's take cognizance of the fact that on this platform, we also have people who are not familiar with quality assurance, because it's generally also a new area and people are still grappling with understanding it. And even to the extent that in other institutions, the people who are employed there still need more and more support for them to be able to work effectively and understand quality assurance systems and how to build them more. So quickly, I will go to say it can be about meeting and surpassing set standards, normally by our regulatory bodies, by our professional bodies. Fitness for excellence brand relevant today, because you will realize that the kind of programs that we need to have should make sure that there is ICT and internet services, skills, and knowledge and information that should be embedded, whether they are going to be offered as university-wide or it compels us to introduce faculties which have got departments of ICT and that is we need to consider. Value for money, transformation, doing right when no one is looking. And I like this Henry Ford beyond. We don't know the other pandemics like COVID-19, which are so that we have a or we can switch to online if things are fixed. So transformation this time around.
Hello, participants. We've lost Dr. Makuku a bit. We are trying to get her so that she comes to continue her presentation. But whilst she's coming, we have our co-presenters on the list. We have Professor Clement Jujono, who would also take part in this presentation. We have Professor Elinor Johannes, who would also take part in this webinar. We have Professor Nibat, who is also here. And so whilst you reconnect, Dr. Violet reconnect. Okay, she's in now, so we will let her continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, these are some of the challenges regarding our cities and our internet provision, which we need to address. So please bear with me. Many times I've seen this happening everywhere. And so it's something that we can't really run away, but that is the reason why we are going to emphasize on the need to upgrade our systems. So now and then, maybe this may happen as one of the presenters may be presenting, but bear with us. I'm sorry, and we apologize on behalf of the Association of African Universities. Now, if we are to continue with our presentation, I will just quickly move on. So I was saying the reason why we have doing right when no one is looking is that we have challenges in most cases that people don't normally check when they are alone. They don't do the right things. So people continue to want to be supervised, and this is the reason why we now have quality assurance. So let's look at quality assurance and how we would get on to define it. Okay. So quality assurance is the systematic internal and external management procedures and mechanisms assures its stakeholders of the quality of its systems, processes, products, outcomes of its ability to manage and maintain as well as enhance quality. This is the quality assurance cycle, and it's very important for us to make sure that we do our planning. When we plan, that's when we can implement. There are some people who are very good at rushing at implementing, and even the firefighting will not help them. So we also have the implementation, and we need to check. After we implement, we check what is going right and what is not going right, and then we act. As we act, we are making necessary changes to make sure we remain. I think there's an issue of hacking possibly. And the quality assurance principles include accountability, transparency, efficiency, effectiveness, avoiding double standards, communication. And I just want to emphasize communication because this time around, it's going to be much, much more important than ever before. Documentation as well as research. We need to continue the research in order to continue improve these things. For example, now It could be a hacker who is writing on my slides because I'm not. And so we need people to continue researching on how we can best improve our systems, how we can help improve our softwares, our applications, our platforms, because this is the drivers. These are the drivers of what we are going to use now. But it is well documented the world over in higher and tertiary education literature that, and quality literature, that quality is mainly compromised by religion. Instead of taking a professor, you are taking a Mr. or a Mrs. because they belong to your church. Nepotism, the same. Politics, you are told for now we can't do this, stop that, because the political activities take center stage. Corruption, you know about it, and I've said double standards. But let me ask them to say to us, internal quality assurance is in the institutions, and we are the drivers. We should not be pushed by any external body, not even our national accreditation bodies, and to make sure that we have internal quality. We need to drive it. Like I've said again, when I look at internal quality assurance, I look at it again as a cell in biology or an atom in physics, where now we can build up to all the universities and higher education in a country where we are now being guided by the national quality standards. We have our professional bodies, equally very, very important. We have our quality assurance regional bodies. We have our international quality standards to follow. And then we just want to define the new normal. We are going to share with you slides that are clean later on, because what is happening here is just disturbing. A new way of doing business, because we want to understand. People go, a new normal. What is the new normal? A new way of doing business in general throughout the world. But we want to zero down in higher and tertiary education. We have our new way, which we are borrowing from the rest of the world. Virtual events will become more common. Remote working set to increase longer term. Cloud first strategy to become common. A spotlight on creativity and innovation. Upskilling to become a key focus. Investment, I want to emphasize this. Investment in robust ICTs and internet services. And that one is going to help us a lot. It is very easy to see how the COVID-19 pandemic forced the adaptation to enable business under lockdown and have lasting effects on the way organization will operate from now into the unforeseeable future, and how employees will work and collaborate to get more done at a faster rate than ever before. In retrospect, like I said earlier, COVID-19 will not only be remembered as the catastrophe that resulted in the tragic loss of life, but also the catalyst for rapid cloud adoption and accelerated innovation that enabled a new way of working and doing business. And there will be no going back. So for us on this platform, if you are relaxing, thinking that you will start the face-to-face business when COVID-19 goes, we don't know when it is going. And so, ladies and gentlemen, vice chancellors, ministers, every key higher education stakeholder, please brace up to mobilize resources and make sure that you prioritize the ICT infrastructure and internet services investment. That's more important than anything now, so that you can continue to work. Virtual events will become more common. I say indications are that virtual events are likely to become more common in a post-COVID pandemic world, as organizations have hosted live events in the past, like Microsoft. Imagine Microsoft had to reimagine the Microsoft Build event. As a result, the first ever full virtual Microsoft Build in the week of 18 May 2020 attracted more developers and analysts than ever before to become truly global, with 25 times more registrations compared to the previous years. So, ladies and gentlemen, we also need to console ourselves regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and look at these positive aspects. So the COVID-19 pandemic national lockdowns made it clear and apparent that the world would never be the same again. And this Microsoft Build conference highlighted what some of those changes will be like. COVID-19 has been the catalyst for developing ways for presenting events virtually, and now that ways have been found to do so technically and proven to be so successful, all that remains is to refine ways of making virtual events as interactive, social, personal, and intimate live events. The remote working set to increase in the longer term. While remote working was becoming increasingly popular in the run-up to the COVID-19 crisis, fewer organizations were well equipped to accommodate this. In the past few months, however, about every organization had to find a way of enabling employees to work remotely, and everyone has adapted. So you see the indicators of the new normal. Fortunately, Microsoft and other software makers have responded with more tools and support for secure remote working than ever before. As a result, John Tolbert, Matthias Reinwart, and Alexia Balanksi in 2020 noted that remote working or home working will increase several folds and become far more common than it was in the past as employees and businesses count cost and time saving and other benefits. The cloud, the only way many organizations have been able to continue business in the face of restrictions imposed by national lockdowns was to embrace cloud-based services. And more will be said by the other speakers and presenters. So in the meantime, allow me to move on and just say, this implies that quality assurance will have to be reimagined and reoriented to suit the new environment, although everything else will remain the same. For example, how will people work from home be monitored? Quite interesting, because it may be inevitable for some people to continue working at home. The importance of quality assurance in the new normal digitized higher education space should therefore be heavily underscored. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to close to wind off so that my other partners can come in to support what we are doing today. Let's look at that. We are saying paradigm shift. It's a necessity right now. Shape up or ship out. Look at that innovation killer organization chart. We have the chief idea killer right at the top. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, this time around, let's embrace one of the Agenda 2063 African aspirations, which says the Africa that is going to be run by the youth and its women. We are not leaving out men because you have already been there. So what it means is whether an idea comes from a woman, it comes from a lower level staff, or it comes from a younger person or employee, or from our students, please let's just consider the value of the idea and run with it. That is very, very important. And so in that regard, we don't want chief idea killers. We also don't want the directors of no. Everything, even before anybody has finished anything, somebody is already saying it's a no. We don't want the directors of the status quo. You want what was there to remain. Why? Please, we need to move on. Allow all hands on deck so that we can all move on. Directors and managers of rigidity, managers of bureaucracy, managers of analysis paralysis, it will not work. You will not survive, because if you are obsolete, if you are not relevant, nobody will consider you. Unfortunately, in most cases, we find out that the post of the principal officer for new growth and ideas is vacant in most organizations. So let's make sure that we create this because we need that more than ever before. I also have this one, which is summarizing the 7 very critical skills that we need. Critical thinking and problem solving. It's now or never, and now and forever. Collaboration across networks and learning by influence, agility and adaptability, initiative and entrepreneurialism, because what we are going to do is we will have people who have got the ability to develop softwares and applications and all. Let's give them room. But now let's also be business minded. How are we going to use this in our institutions other than buying from elsewhere? Why are we training engineers, systems developers, and all these hardware and software ICT people? It's now the time for even students who are still in our institutions to take part in the development of the institution. And we also have accessing and analyzing information. Even the Bible said, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We don't want too much knowledge, but let's sift and sieve through to see the knowledge and information that can help us. Otherwise, if you don't have the knowledge, those who have got the knowledge will exploit you and you will be left behind. Curiosity and imagination, all these pertain to the push towards the dimension of the new researches that need to be done. We need a lot of intellectual property, a lot of copyrights. We need a lot of patents coming from this, and we have already witnessed a lot of them. And this time around, because of remote operations, we need robust communication systems like never before. And then I just want to say these skills are also highlighted here: creativity and critical thinking, cooperation and collaboration, rather than competition and conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to repeat: cooperation, collaboration, teamwork, as opposed to conflict and competition, especially coming together to build the ICT's infrastructures, which we can share, and also the internet services. Somebody is going to cover that. The digital and ICT literacy, this one, everybody should come on board, be it students, be it ancillary and support staff, everybody, nobody should be left behind. We need visionaries, we need risk takers so that we move on. Adapters and adopters, we need many of you. So there are also a number of existing support resources. We can reinvent the wheel, and these are listed there: the African Center for Distance Education and so on. And these are some.